We have a cultural narrative that is propagated by pornography, shame, and silence.
I'd say that most people are learning about sex, statistically through porn, mainstream porn on the internet.
And what happens when our educators of sexuality are theater is that students are watching what it is that they think sex is supposed to look like in an incredibly glorified, theatrical, objectified paradigm. And that's what they're taking literally into their sexual interactions. Sexuality is not what happens in pornography. What I'm seeing on campus is that there are no spaces for kids to actually connect with their humanity around sex. There's a pendulum swing of either conversations about preventative measures, assault prevention, consensual language, and at the other end of that spectrum is education around kinky sex, having more sex, hyping it up so sex is the most natural thing in the world. Everybody's doing it to try and make it more comfortable. But what that's leaving out is an invitation for students to really feel into what it is that they actually feel about sex. I can't tell you how many students I have talked to who have been unable to make sense of sexual interactions that they've had. And the way that translates is, I don't know why I feel so crazy, why I feel broken, why I don't want to be here, why I feel depressed, why I feel anxious. There is a backlash happening around the push around consent. The conversation and even the language around consent is losing its power because what students can feel is that that is driven by policy and administration. And at the end of the day, that does not translate to their incredibly intricate, human, complicated, emotional, real interactions that they are having sexually. And that's where they have questions. Why am I feeling the things that I'm feeling? Why does this feel so confusing? Why do I feel so broken when I wake up the next morning from a sexual interaction that I don't understand what happened? And I walk out into the world feeling broken, into my classes, into my communication with my family, into my projects in the world. One of the students that I worked with at one college after a workshop I gave, she threw up her hands and she said, how can we be talking about consent if we don't even know what sex is? Why is no one willing to talk about what's happening after the moment of consent? We are doing a disservice to our young people by focusing a conversation on continuing to tell them what not to do in sex. There is a fear-driven culture there, and they've never been invited into that kind of conversation in a way that feels safe, feels like it has integrity, feels like their vulnerability is welcome in that conversation. They walk into their very first or second or third or fourth sexual interactions feeling like they're supposed to know something that they don't know. And what that translates as on a human level is there's something I'm supposed to know, I don't know it, and there's something wrong with me. And it's from that ground that we engage in sexuality. And when that actually begins to move into sexual territory, and because they've never been taught, there is an underlying feeling of, I guess this is just the way it goes. I will close my mouth, I will endure whatever is happening, and I will expect that this is just how sex goes.